how do you address the what I mentioned, the human rights issues, of the fact that these were people who for most of their lives were treated as a piece of property, and now for this last decade they've been these free beings, and they've all taken their own paths for life.
That is the core of the serialized story. I mean, the core of the story is that the film was about pre-crime, and that was an almost Orwellian program whereby we predicted the future via these three human beings who were used as tools, who were enslaved for this purpose. And then that ended. And now that that's over, these three people still have those visions. They're too dangerous and too powerful for any one person to control, and therefore they were set free and in anonymity. But if anyone ever found them, they would be in great danger. And as a result, they each have to choose how they're going to deal with their gifts in this world that has wronged them. And so, but there's a responsibility, at least that Dash, our hero, feels to acting on his murder visions. I mean, what would you do? I mean, it's a really hard question. I don't know the answer. And I also, if you ask the question of how would you vote if there was a vote right now about putting 3 individuals in a milk bath in this state of suspended animation, and if you did, you could stop every murder in a city. I mean, ethically you say, oh, well, it would be wrong, and then on the other hand, it would save thousands of lives. And then you say, well, they'd be arresting people who didn't do anything yet. And then you say, but those people were almost certainly going to do those things. And so it's impossible to come out on one side or another. I mean, I have my own political perspective on what would be right or wrong, and the show certainly, flies right at that, and people have different opinions about it, and each of the precogs has reacted to that in a different way, and some of them are much more cynical about the world than others as a result of that experience. But that trauma is right in the center of what we're flying at. That plus the sort of bigger ethical questions of, is it good or bad to act on this gift? Like, what do you do if you know someone is going to commit a murder, but what we know also for a fact, and what pre-crime was predicated on, the idea that you can change that future by intervening, right? So you can either intervene by arresting that person, preemptively and throwing them in a halo, or you can maybe try to, hit the billiard ball and stop it from hitting the target, by trying to intervene in some other way, persuading someone not to do it, or whatever. Now, our characters can't just come out and say, hey, I'm a precog and I saw you're going to commit a murder, so please don't do it. So it makes it a very complicated thing, but because they're doing it under the radar now, Dash and Vega, they have to find other ways of doing that, and in some cases people will be persuadable and they can have a personal relationship with that person. In other cases, it's someone who's evil, who's going to do something, but you can't just arrest them because you have no legal recourse. So what do? Do you go Jack Bauer? And you just beat the shit out of them? So it's kind of there's a lot to think about, and we're really excited about it.